Hey everyone, my name is Dillon Gonzalez. I am a senior critic for GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast. I am here today to discuss the 1980 giant creature feature, Alligator, newly out on 4K Ultra HD from Scream Factory. And one thing I'll have to give Scream Factory props for right off the bat is that this movie has never been released on Blu-ray before, and they just completely skipped that format and went straight for what fans wanted and gave this a proper 4K Ultra HD release. And this comes in a new 3-disc set and with reversible cover art, and I will admit I've already reversed my cover art. So here underneath is the original theatrical poster art, and the other side is just the a recreation of the new slipcover art that comes with it. So as I said, this is a 3-disc release. There is 1 disc for the 4K Ultra HD. There's 1 disc for the Blu-ray and 1 disc for the theatrical version and a Blu-ray for the television version. So here is a look inside. It's a nice swing case. I do appreciate a 3-disc set. So yeah, here is the 4K Ultra HD art. Once again, a recreation of the original cover art. And the theatrical version gets the original poster art, which you can see here. And then the television cut is something just slightly different. You get to see a man being eaten by the titular alligator, which is a lot of fun. So there. So yeah, in terms of the actual movie, this was a really fun discovery. I had personally never seen it before. Whenever I saw Scream Factory announce this, my interest was definitely piqued. I saw a lot of people kind of comparing it or saying that it was kind of a Jaws ripoff, which I guess I can understand that. But even so, this far exceeded my expectations for what I expected this movie to be. It starts out like with a flashback of a young girl at an alligator roadside attraction, basically, and you see that she's very interested in the alligators, and you will see later that she grows up to be a doctor. Her name is Marissa, who kind of acts in that role that is explaining everything that the main characters need to know about the alligators. But at this time, she buys a baby alligator, and then her parents end up flushing it down the toilet, and as the old lore goes, like, there's alligators living in the sewer. And that's basically what this movie is. Flash forward to the present of the 1980s, and there is a detective played by Robert Forster, the late great Robert Forster, who, it's interesting, he is haunted by his past, along with people telling him that he's having a receding hairline and hair loss. So he's dealing with 2 major life events, apparently. He is in a bad place emotionally, and he is assigned to this case where there are bodies disappearing, there's animals disappearing around the neighborhood, and the plot ties into a lot of like shady corporate dealings, and that have led to this giant alligator becoming a thing that's living in the sewers, and it's going to begin to terrorize the town. So it's pretty straightforward. It's a really entertaining movie. One thing I really liked about this is that the alligator is not like would be in modern times. Like, they didn't use like any computer effects or anything. This was a time where things were still completely practical, which is a lot actually more believable and enjoyable than like any dated special effects. So yeah, it's like a rubber alligator, like just trouncing around the area. And there's some really cool ways that they shot this, where they used like scale models with a real alligator to give it a grander sense of how big it is, because it's supposed to be bigger than a car. And if you like just kind of the idea of like an alligator going around a town, like picking off dumbasses and eating them, and just like crushing cars and everything. This movie delivers on every front. It's a cool 90 minutes, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. There is like a light romance between Robert Forster and Robin Riker, who plays the doctor that I talked about, Marissa, and which doesn't bring down the movie at all. It's a really entertaining watch. So yeah, this release, the new 4K disc of the theatrical cut comes from a 4K scan of their original negative, and the 4K disc itself looks amazing. There's still a nice layer of film grain. It has been cleaned up immensely. I didn't see a lot of like nicks or scratches, which is great. I didn't see any encode issues, so I didn't see a lot of like compression issues popping up. It's a really beautiful encode. The colors are really deep and nuanced with the 4K grade, like the HDR grading. It's a really good looking disc. And I also watched the exclusive television cut that is included in here, which runs actually 8 minutes longer. And what I noticed in this, there are some scenes added. It seemed like the beginning scene was a little less violent than the theatrical version, which of course for TV that makes sense. There's also scenes, from what I could tell, there were scenes added at the beginning with Marissa's parents being broken down on the side of the road. There was a scene later where Robert Forster is trying to get a hold of Marissa by calling her mother. There's some other scenes with Henry Silva that are new, and I think probably the most prominent and most famous is there's a scene where there's a young mother who's doing hanging up her laundry on the laundry line in her backyard, and she goes in to take a call while her child is out, and let's just say there's a fear that the child is going to be eaten by the alligator, and I will not spoil if that actually happens or not. And also a lot of fun with this television cut, in addition to the actual news scenes, is alternate line readings for the cleaned up language. So instead of like Hooker Alley, there's Looker Alley, and then you get to hear Robert Forster awkwardly dub saying, "I'm going to kick his tail," which is a lot of fun. Also on this disc, you will probably wonder, the biggest selling point almost besides the movie in terms of special features is a 22-minute interview with Brian Cranston. And no, Brian Cranston did not star in this movie. He is not in the movie at all. He was a production assistant on this movie, and he came in to do a 22-minute interview telling his experiences on this disc, which is amazing. That tells you what kind of guy Brian Cranston is. And he has a lot of great stories. And he's a type of person who really has a lot of reverence for what he did in the past and what experiences led to where he is now. And he has a lot of great stories about, like one story in particular about riding in a production van to set with Robert Forster, getting in at the last moment and just kind of actively engaging with him, which is really interesting considering Robert Forster would later appear in a season 5 episode of Breaking Bad. So that's like a nice kind of full circle moment. There's also several other new interviews. There's a 8-minute interview with Robin Riker, who plays the Dr. Marissa. There is a 25-minute interview with director Louis Teague, who you also might know from Cujo or Jewel of the Nile. There is a new 10-minute interview with screenwriter John Sayles, who actually, like, I wouldn't have expected him to write this movie, because I mostly know him from stuff like 8 Men Out, or even like he's still working in television with like shows like The Alienist, but then I saw that his first feature was Piranha, and that makes a lot more sense. So he was just kind of a natural evolution with Alligator. There's also a vintage 17-minute interview with John Sayles, so you kind of get to see like what John Sayles, how he felt about the movie, kind of about like, I think probably about 20 years ago, and then a new interview. So that's a lot of great stuff. There's a separate special section on the special features with just the deleted scenes from the television cut, but they are in really poor quality, but you will see kind of the differences. But the television scenes that are inserted in this new Blu-ray disc, that's the third disc on here of the television cut, those have been scanned from a new inner positive and like inserted within the 4K scan of the theatrical version. So everything looks really great. I saw maybe just like a few, very few small blemishes, but the television cut also looks really great. Overall, this is a really solid release, and anyone who's been waiting for their giant creature fix and wanting this movie, Scream Factory, I think, over-delivered past. I think anyone would have been happy just with the Blu-ray release to finally have this, which the sequel, which I did not get, but I'm eager to get, Alligator 2, they have newly released on Blu-ray, and after having so much fun with this disc, I'm gonna have to pick up Alligator 2, even if it does let me down. They have enough goodwill from releasing this on 4K. I'm excited. Like, I think Scream Factory always does a great job with their releases, so I did have a lot of fun with this. So, yes, go get this new 4K of Alligator. By the time this drops, it should be released newly from Scream Factory. Like I said, it's a great release. Got this nice slipcover, a nice 3-disc presentation. It is one of my favorite releases that I've looked at this year, and it is a great discovery considering I'd never seen this movie before. So yeah, if you liked this video, please give me a like, comment, tell me what you thought of the presentation, tell me what you think of the release. I want to know if you had as much fun with this as I did. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel. I'm going to keep doing a lot more of these, and I appreciate you watching this. Thank you for your time. Come back and have a good day.